Hello, it's Simon again from Odd Planet Studios. Today I just want to show you some upgrades to the DIYnder. This is the version 1 by Friendly Beans. If you've got the version 1, then these are well worth putting in place. There's a new drive wheel, there's a little collar, and there's the base twist has got some grub screws put into it to make it much firmer. Now, perhaps the most important development is the new drive gear. Now that tightens directly onto the shaft of the bolt. Previously, what it had was some thread locker and then the nuts that tighten down. And if any of you have experienced this, where the whole thing has just come loose, it's incredibly frustrating, and obviously in the middle of a shot it could be very, very serious indeed. So this takes care of that and means that it will not slip at all, which is brilliant. So we put all of these together into a single package, which is available on my mini factory under upgrades for the version 1 DIYnder. There's the nut holding the whole thing in, and it's clearly not holding it firmly at all, as I can move the knob. So I'm just going to take that right off, and then what you do is you unscrew the knob. There we go. Right, in order to put the new one in, we need to do a couple of things. One is to file a flat onto the bolt. So that needs to be about 12 millimeters in, because there should be a little bit of bolt protruding and the bearing goes onto the end of that. But give it a reasonable width, maybe 6 millimeters or so of flat onto the bolt there. Next, take an M3 nut and drop it into there, so it goes in that little square side. Now that's going to go down into the hole, but it needs to be pulled up by an M3 bolt. The bolt just pulls the nut into its socket, then loosen that off. Now you can insert the grub screw, and it's ready to roll. So the next thing we do is just to reassemble with the bearing, and then we can drop our gear wheel down, so we can actually tighten up through this gap here. There it is. Tighten that on. In fact, one thing I haven't done, which is a sensible thing to do, I need to mark where the flat is so that I can see which way to align it. So using a Sharpie or similar pen, you can just make a mark on the side where the flat is, and then when you put your gear wheel down, you can get that grub screw right onto that flat section there. Nice and tight, and that isn't going anywhere. That is fantastic now. And that's it. Just reassemble. There we go. So we'll just check that before we do anything else. So that all goes through. Lovely, nice and secure. That is really solid now. That's great. And there we have it. All done. That even runs a little bit smoother as well. I think because the gear is better centered on the shaft. So that is a real improvement. So for the twist, we need to do much the same thing and pull a couple of nuts into position. And this is easier said than done because you've got to somehow drop them in, maybe hold them there with something flat, and then try and get the screw to take. There we go. That's it. Trouble is you can't get your fingers in there, and it's not easy. That seems to do it. Yeah. Here we go. Here we go. So that is obviously worth doing, is just holding something flat over the top of it, maybe a screwdriver blade or something like that, or a file. And then when you get to the point where it's just about to pull into the pocket, if you hold the nut, the sides of the nut, with a pair of pliers, you can make sure that it goes in the right way. So that's pulled right into that pocket there. Let's try the next one. So you can see them getting pulled right into the pockets there. Just make sure the nut is in the right orientation. Then we can fit the wedge into there, and of course we just have to run a couple of grub screws to tension it. Don't forget when you're putting the rack into the twist that it shouldn't protrude from the bottom, otherwise it won't screw into the base properly. You may need to file or sand the bottom of the twist just to a bit of an angle so that the threads engage nicely in the base. It can be a little bit tricky to screw it in, but there we go. That's it. Oh, that's lovely. The final piece is actually just something very simple. It's a little collar that I just designed, and it just fits onto the rack, and you can put it up and use it as an end stop, or I suppose you could hang something from it if you wanted to, but at any rate it's a very simple little item, and that's also included. Well, I hope that was useful. If you've got the version 1, then I'd strongly recommend that you upgrade certainly the drive wheel. That seems to me to be an important upgrade, and it's very, very simple and very quick to do. So thank you for watching. See you again.